The world doesn't run on oil, it runs on movement. And right now, that movement is trapped inside a 33-kilometer choke point so fragile that a single disruption can send shockwaves across the entire planet. Prices spike, markets panic, ships stop, and suddenly the modern world starts to feel unstable. But what if I told you there's a way to erase that vulnerability completely? Not by controlling the Strait of Hormuz, but by bypassing it entirely. A $200 billion megaproject that doesn't go around the problem. It goes straight through a mountain range that was never meant to be touched. And standing here, looking at these jagged cliffs rising out of the Arabian coastline, it's hard to believe anyone would even attempt it.
I'm standing here right at the edge of this coastline, and the mountains in front of me, there's a plan to carve an entire shipping canal straight through them. Just 32 kilometers, but possibly the most challenging 32 kilometers in the world.
Behind me, the sea stretches endlessly, but ahead, the land rises violently. The Hajar Mountains. Not smooth hills, but fractured limestone cliffs, sharp, unstable, and riddled with hidden voids. On a map, this looks simple. Just cut a straight line from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. But in reality, this is solid rock, rising hundreds of meters into the sky, with no roads, no infrastructure, nothing. And yet, this is the only barrier between the world's most critical oil supply and complete freedom of movement. The idea seems almost absurd. The Panama Canal carved through jungle, the Suez Canal sliced through desert. But this is different. This is vertical terrain, dense rock, unpredictable geology, shorter in distance, but exponentially harder in execution. Before a single machine even touches the ground, the mountain itself has to be understood. And that's where the first problem appears. Because this mountain isn't solid. Deep beneath the surface, hidden from sight, are massive underground cavities, some large enough to swallow entire buildings. Natural cave systems formed over millions of years, invisible from above but deadly during construction. One wrong blast and the entire structure could collapse unpredictably.
When engineers started drilling here, after about 40 meters, they didn't hit solid rock. Instead, they discovered an entire cave system. Smasum hall from within, and it could just quality effect side.
Suddenly, this isn't just excavation, it's surgery. Every meter of the mountain has to be scanned, mapped, and predicted. Thousands of seismic sensors spread across the terrain, listening to the mountain's internal structure. Every hidden void identified before a single explosion is planned. Because once blasting begins, there's no undo button. But even if you solve the geology, you still can't reach it. There are no roads here, no access points, just cliffs dropping into the sea. So, before the canal can begin, the first project begins. Building access to the impossible. From the water, massive machines arrive on floating platforms. There is no port, no dock, so temporary jetties are constructed just to unload equipment. Cranes lift bulldozers and excavators onto narrow ledges carved directly into the cliffs. One mistake, and a multi-million-dollar machine disappears into the ocean below.
You might think building a road here would be simple, but here, a road means blasting into the cliff, carving out a narrow ledge just wide enough for a single truck to pass with the ocean straight below.
Workers drill into vertical rock faces, placing controlled explosives. A blast echoes across the coastline, and chunks of mountain collapse into the sea. Slowly, dangerously, a thin path emerges. Not wide, not safe, but just enough for machines to move forward. This process repeats again and again at Sam for months. What emerges is not just a road, but a lifeline. Nearly 180 kilometers of access routes carved into one of the most hostile terrains on Earth. And all of this before the canal even begins. But now comes a different challenge. Because bringing machines here is one thing, keeping humans alive here is another. There is no water, no electricity, no shelter, and the nearest city is over 200 kilometers away. So before excavation, an entire ecosystem has to be built from scratch. A desalination plant rises near the coast, turning seawater into drinking water. A power station follows, generating hundreds of megawatts just to keep the operation alive. Housing units, medical facilities, supply chains, all constructed in isolation. This isn't just a construction site anymore, it's a self-sustaining industrial city, built for one purpose: And then, after years of preparation, the real work begins. Not with a massive explosion, but with precision. Every single blast is planned in advance. Thousands of pages detailing exactly where, when, and how each section of rock will be removed. This isn't chaos, it's choreography, a sequence of controlled detonations designed to break the mountain without letting it fight back, because this mountain resists. The first test blast is small. Cameras record every frame at extreme speed, capturing how the rock fractures. Engineers analyze the results, adjusting their models because if the fragments are too large, the machines can't move them. Too small, and dust clouds shut down the entire site. Everything must be perfect.
This isn't just blasting, it's calculation. Every hole, every charge, every millisecond of delay, everything has to be exact. Otherwise, the entire system could come to a halt.
And then, the first real blast hits. A deep rumble. The ground trembles, and in just seconds, tens of thousands of tons of mountain collapse into the cut. For the first time, the canal begins to exist. Machines move in instantly. Excavators dig, trucks haul, conveyors transport. A constant rhythm begins, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One truck every 30 seconds carrying away pieces of a mountain that stood here for millions of years. From above, it looks unreal. A canyon forming where there was once solid rock, walls rising higher with each passing day, depth increasing rapidly.
I'm now standing inside this cut. 3 days ago, this was solid mountain. Now, it's a 30-meter deep canyon.
But this is just the beginning, because the deeper they go, the more the mountain pushes back. At first, it feels like progress is unstoppable. The machines are relentless, the blasting precise, the excavation perfectly synchronized. Day by day, the mountain retreats. But then, something changes. The deeper the cut goes, the less predictable the environment becomes. Fractures widen, pressure builds, and suddenly, the mountain isn't just being removed, it's reacting. At around 120 meters deep, water begins to seep through the rock, not from rain, not from the sea, but from within the mountain itself, a hidden freshwater lens trapped inside the limestone for centuries. If this reservoir breaks uncontrollably, the entire excavation could flood before the canal is even complete.
This is the most dangerous moment, because if this freshwater system gets breached, the entire canal could flood, and the project could end right here.
Within hours, pump systems are deployed. Pipes snake along the canyon walls, pulling thousands of liters of water every minute out of the excavation zone. Engineers redesign sections in real time, reinforcing weak points, sealing fractures, stabilizing the walls. Because now, it's no longer just about digging deeper, it's about survival inside a moving geological system. And just as the team regains control, the mountain strikes again. High above the excavation route, a massive, unstable slope is detected. Hundreds of thousands of tons of fractured rock hanging silently over the workers below. Invisible cracks, slow movement, a collapse waiting to happen. At 3 a.m., alarms trigger.
At 3 a.m., the entire site was evacuated. More than 200 workers were pulled out immediately because a single slope failure could have buried this entire section.
Within hours, engineers arrive. By sunrise, the entire route is redesigned, shifted 80 meters away from danger. New blast plans, new drilling patterns, days of delay, but lives saved. This is the reality of building something the world has never attempted. You don't just fight the terrain, you adapt to it, and yet the project doesn't slow down because time itself is pressure. Global markets are watching. Even the idea of this canal has already started affecting oil prices, billions of dollars shifting, based on whether this project succeeds or fails. And with that pressure comes speed. Blasting continues, day after day. Thousands of detonations, each one carefully timed. The canyon grows deeper, wider, more defined. Massive excavators move like clockwork, loading 100-ton trucks in seconds. A continuous flow of rock leaving the mountain, heading toward the sea. Because nothing is wasted. The removed mountain becomes something else entirely, new land. Artificial coastlines built from the very rock that once blocked global trade. A transformation happening in real time, destruction turning into creation.
What you're seeing here isn't waste. It's new land being created. The mountain we're removing is forming an entirely new coastline out in the sea.
But even with all this progress, one section remains untouched, the highest peak, rising 650 meters above sea level. Too steep, too dangerous to blast from above, so instead of cutting through it, engineers decide to go under it. A tunnel boring machine is brought in, massive, Precise, built to grind through the hardest rock on Earth. Slowly, meter by meter, it pushes forward. 8 meters a day, grinding, crushing, removing thousands of tons of rock with each advance. Inside the machine, it feels different. No explosions, no open sky, just constant pressure, and the sound of steel cutting through stone. Weeks turn into months, and finally, breakthrough. The tunnel connects with the open cut. For the first time, the entire canal route exists, from one side of the mountain to the other. Not finished, not refined, but real. And that changes everything, because now, it's no longer about removing the mountain. It's about turning it into a waterway. The raw rock walls are unstable, fractured, unpredictable. So they are transformed. Thousands of rock bolts drilled deep into the canyon walls, anchoring the structure in place. Shotcrete sprayed across surfaces, sealing cracks, reinforcing stability. Slowly, the chaotic geology becomes controlled engineering. Then comes the lining. Concrete walls rise inside the carved canyon, forming a smooth, controlled channel. Waterproof membranes placed behind them, protecting against groundwater pressure. Layer by layer, the mountain disappears behind engineered surfaces.
What you're seeing here, these walls aren't just concrete, they're a shield, one that will control the water and safely guide ships through.
At the base, the canal floor is poured, perfectly leveled, smooth enough for the largest ships ever built. This surface will never be seen again once the water fills in. But it has to be flawless because once submerged, there is no second chance. Kilometer by kilometer, the transformation continues, from raw excavation to finished infrastructure. Lights installed, navigation systems integrated, safety mechanisms built into every section. But one final challenge remains: elevation. Because this canal doesn't just cut through the mountain, it climbs over it. 3 massive lock systems are constructed along the route, each one a controlled chamber capable of raising or lowering ships weighing hundreds of thousands of tons. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend.
I'm standing here at the edge of this lock chamber. It's 400 meters long, so massive that even the Eiffel Tower could fit inside it horizontally.
Water begins to fill the chamber, slowly at first, then rapidly. Millions of liters moving through underground channels, lifting an entire ship as if it weighs nothing. The gates, each weighing thousands of tons, swing into place with hydraulic precision. And in just minutes, the impossible happens. A supertanker rises, not in the ocean, not with waves, but inside a mountain. Step by step, lock by lock, the ship climbs to the highest point, 650 meters above sea level, before descending on the other side. A journey that once depended on a fragile choke point, now controlled by engineering alone. Outside, the final pieces fall into place. Approach channels dredged into the seabed, breakwaters built to calm the ocean's force, navigation systems installed with centimeter precision, every detail engineered to handle the world's largest vessels. And then, after years of construction, comes the moment that defines everything: the first full transit test. The gates open. The ship moves forward, through the first lock, rising, through the canyon, surrounded by walls that were once mountains, into the tunnel, carved through solid rock, up again, and then down, and finally, out into open water. It works, perfectly. What once seemed impossible now exists. A 32-kilometer canal, 3 lock systems, hundreds of millions of cubic meters of mountain removed, a new artery for global trade, built where nature never intended one to exist.
3 years, thousands of people, and an entire mountain, all so the world's flow never comes.
And just like that, the balance of global shipping changes forever. Because this wasn't just about building a canal. It was about removing one of the world's biggest vulnerabilities and replacing it with something engineered, controlled, and unstoppable.